Welcome back, students. Welcome to biology classes. Today we are going to see 12 science biology, and we are going to see the chapter number 11, that is the biotechnology, and we are going to see the principles and processes. We have already completed the half of the chapter of, and we have covered so many topics of this chapter, and yet today we are going to see the next few topics of this chapter. And the first today's topic is the competent host, right? The competent host, this means for it is used for transformation with recombinant DNA. So here what happens, the transformation which is carried out is it is carried out with the recombinant DNA, right? So there are several methods of like inserting the recombinant DNA into the competent host, right? So the first is the simple chemical treatment with divalent calcium ion increases the efficiency of host cell to take up the rDNA plasmid. So the first thing which occurs, right, the first method is there will be presence of simple chemical treatment, right? And the chemical treatment will be given with divalent calcium ions. This divalent calcium ions increases the efficiency of the host cell, right? But how it increases the efficiency? It increases the efficiency of the host cell to take up, right? That means to accept the rDNA plasmid, right? That is a recombinant DNA plasmid. Now this plasmid, rDNA plasmids are containing what? The gene of interest. Now there are different types of co-competent hosts, and there are so many different types of methods. Among this we are going to see these five, and amongst them the first one is saying about the chemical treatment with divalent calcium ions, and this increases the ability of the host cell to intake the rDNA plasmid. The second method is the rDNA can also be transformed into host cell by incubating both on ice followed by placing them briefly at 42 degrees Celsius, that is heat shock, and then putting them back one on ice, right? This enables the bacteria to take up the recombinant DNA. So here the rDNA technology is transformed or is entered inside the competent host by first incubating the host cell on the ice, as well as the first, see here it is written cell by incubating both on ice followed by placing them at 42 degrees Celsius. So the rDNA, right, the host cell, the cells which are the host cells which are there, they are incubated, so they are placed into the medium which is containing the ice, and then after few time what it is done, it is been kept in the 42 degrees Celsius medium, that is a heat shock. So initially it was having the icy medium, that is the cold medium, and suddenly it is placed into a hot medium, right, or we can say a warm medium. For this reason the particular cell experiences the heat shock, and doing this 2 to 3 times the particular host cell is uh, is getting the shocks, and for this reason what happens, it enables the bacteria to take up the recombinant DNA, right? So the second type of treatment says about that the rDNA can be transformed into the host cell by by the incubation which is carried out in the ice, and then into the 42 degrees Celsius, which is the heat shock. So doing this 2 to 3 times, what it does is it enables the bacteria to accept the rDNA, right? A third type is the micro injection method, right? So in what happens in the micro injection method, the rDNA is directly injected into the nucleus of the cell by using a glass micropipette, right? So here in micro injection you already know, right? But what about the micro injection? This is a method through which the rDNA technology, the r recombinant DNA, is directly inserted or injected inside the nucleus, right? So here it is not inserted in or injected in the cell cytoplasm, but it is directly inserted or injected inside the nucleus, right? And they are using a glass micropipette, right? Through this glass micropipette they are directly injecting the rDNA into the nucleus. So this is the third type, that is the micro injection. The fourth type is the biolistics, or we can simply say as the gene gun method, right? So this method says that it has been developed to introduce our DNA into mainly plant cells by using a gene or particle gun. So this particular method, that is biolistics or the gene gun method, this method is normally or mainly used for the plants to introduce the recombinant DNA, right? In this method, what happens? The microscopic particles of gold or tungsten are coated with DNA of interest and bombarded onto the cells. So here, wherever, whatever the DNA of interest is there, or we can say the gene of interest is there, this gene of interest is covered, or it is coated by the particles of gold as well as tungsten, either gold or tungsten. And then once the coating is carried done, after that they are directly bombarded onto the cells, right? They are being thrown on the cells. So with the microscopic particles of the gold or tungsten, what happens? The cells are broken down, and uh, the gene of interest or the rDNA is entered inside the cell. So this is the fourth number, that is the gene gun method, or we can simply say as biolistics. The fifth and the last method says that it uses disarmed pathogen, that is vectors, that is agrobacterium tumefaciens, which when fall allowed to infect the cell, transfer the recombinant DNA into the host. So here what happens? The last method says about the disarmed pathogen, that is those are the vectors, right? And this bacteria here, the example has been given of the agrobacterium tumefaciens, right? They allow to infect the cell, and then the transfer of the recombinant DNA takes place. So these are the five different methods of the of the transfer, like for entering or for injecting or for the entry of the recombinant DNA into the competent host. The first one was with the simple treatment, right? That was the chemical treatment through divalent calcium ions. Second one was to incubate on the ice as well as on the heat medium, right? Then the third one was about the micro injection method. Fourth was the gene gun method. And the fifth one where the disarmed pathogen vectors are being used. So this is all about the competent host, and which is useful for transformation with recombinant DNA technology, or we can say it is used for injecting the recombinant DNA into the host cell. Now we are coming to the last final topic of this chapter, and that is the process of recombinant DNA technology. Up till now, you have seen about the principles of the DNA, biotechnology, or we can say the rDNA technology, right? But now we are going to see about the process, right? Up till now, it was the principles. Now we are going to see the main part of this chapter, and that is the processes of the recombinant DNA technology. The recombinant DNA technology, it involves several steps, and it needs a specific sequence, right? So in the particular steps, the first step is the isolation of the DNA, right? Once the isolation of DNA takes place, right, after that what happens? The second is the fragmentation of DNA by restriction endonucleases. So the second step which is taking place in the rDNA technology, that is the fragmentation. The DNA is being cut into small fragments with the use of the restriction endonucleases. The third uh, the third step is the isolation of desired DNA fragment. Upon cutting the fragments, we need to understand, or we need to see that which is the gene of interest. So we are going to isolate that gene of interest, right? Then the ligation of the DNA fragment into vector. Then we are taking the vector, that is the plasmid, right? And we are incorporating the gene of interest inside that vector. Then this vector is being transformed into the host cell, so transforming the recombinant DNA into the host. The next step is the culturing the host cells in a medium at large scale. So after that, now once the gene of interest has been entered or is been injected into the host cell, what is needed? We need to culture those cells on a large scale, right? And it should contain a medium which can give more amount of product. And the last one is the extraction of the desired product. Now whatever you are expecting from that particular gene of interest, right, the product you whatever you product you are getting, you need to extract it, right? So the extraction is the last step of this particular process. So there are totally this many steps. The first is the isolation of DNA. Second is the fragmentation of DNA by restriction endonucleases. Third is isolation of desired DNA fragment. Fourth is the ligation of the DNA fragment into vector. Fifth is transforming the recombinant DNA into the host. Sixth is culturing the host cell in a medium at large scale. And the last one is the extraction of the desired product. Now we are going to see all these steps in detail, right? The first step is the isolation of the genetic material. So the isolation of genetic material takes how it takes place, right? So genetic material is isolated from other macromolecules by using enzymes such as lysozyme for bacteria, cellulase for plant cell, chitinase for fungus, right? So here when we are talking about the genetic material, the isolation, that means you are extracting out the DNA, right? So आप उसे क्या कर रहे हैं, उसको प्योरीफाई करके बाहर निकल रहे हैं, सेपरेट कर रहे हैं, राइट? सो व्हाट हैपेंस हियर, द जेनेटिक मटेरियल इज फर्स्टली आइसोलेटेड from the macromolecules, and they are using what, the enzymes, right? And this enzymes, the in bacteria it is also different, in plant cell is also different, and in the fungus is also different. In bacteria, an enzyme which is used to isolate the genetic material is lysozyme. In plant cell, cellulase enzyme is there, and in fungus, the chitinase enzyme is there. So this three of the examples is about the enzymes which are responsible for isolating the genetic material from the macromolecules, right? Next is this DNA that separate out can be removed by spooling, right? Here now this DNA can be removed, right? Means the particular enzymes are being used, and these enzymes are this DNA, right? So there will be presence of three things: the DNA, the RNA, as well as the proteins, right? So they are using the spooling method through which the DNA can be separated out. Now what exactly the spooling method is? So here the RNA can be removed by treating the particular medium with ribonuclease. So through the action of the ribonuclease, it will break down all the RNAs, right? And for this reason, there will be no presence of RNA in the medium. Same way, the proteins are removed out with the treatment with the protease. That means the spooling method says that in the particular mixture of the genetic material, three things are present: the DNA, RNA, and proteins. Amongst them, we are adding two enzymes differently. First is the ribonuclease, and the second is the protease. The ribonuclease acts upon the RNA, and it cuts the and it degrades the RNA. So now the medium contains only protein and DNA, but again we are adding protease. So what happens? The proteins are also being degraded. So here only what is left, the DNA. So this way the isolation of the DNA or the genetic material is carried out, right? Next is the second step, that is the cutting of DNA at specific location, right? Now this is carried out by the restriction enzymes, and then the gel electrophoresis is carried out to check the progression of the restriction enzyme digestion. So here when we are cutting the DNA at specific locations, we are using the molecular scissors, or we can say the restriction enzymes. Here the restriction endonuclease enzymes are being used to cut the DNA as well as the gene of interest, right? So here the particular cutting of DNA takes place, and it forms small fragments. Through the agarose gel electrophoresis, we are finding, or we are separating the DNA sequences into different parts through the help of the agarose gel electrophoresis. Now once the agarose gel electrophoresis occurs, right, we can check, or we can isolate the gene of interest. How? So that is after cutting sources of DNA as well as vector DNA with specific restriction enzyme to cut out gene of interest from the source DNA. So the source DNA is first converted to the fragments. Now we are knowing that in which fragment the particular gene of interest is present. So after once we are knowing about the gene of interest, that in which particular fragment it is present, what happens? The restriction enzymes work on that particular fragment of DNA as well as the vector DNA. So it also cuts the vector DNA as well as it also contains the source DNA, right? That is the fragment. Now, once the two of them are coated with the same restriction enzyme, after that the ligation is carried out where the gene of interest is incorporated inside the vector DNA. So now we are having a vector DNA which is consisting the gene of interest, and this is known as the recombinant DNA. So now we have formed the recombinant DNA. Now what we need to do is, the next step is the amplification of gene of interest with the use of PCR, that is the polymerase chain reaction. So first we isolated them, then we cutted them, then we through the agarose gel electrophoresis we find out that which fragment is containing the gene of interest, and after that the formation of the recombinant DNA took place, right? After that, the next step, which is now we need to amplify. That means we need to make multiple copies of the gene of interest, right? So to do that, we need to do the polymerase chain reaction, and that is PCR. So this PCR is useful to get multiple copies of DNA or gene of interest in vitro by using set of primers and enzymes DNA polymerase, right? So here two things are being used. The first is, now we already have the gene of interest and this is carried out in vitro, right? And here they are using two things. The first is the set of primers. That means the primers are the small nucleotide sequences which are responsible for adding the complementary nucleotides, right? So once the primer binds from that particular region, the DNA polymerase can bind to that primer and continue the adding of the nucleotides further, right? And this way the whole chain elongates, right? So here when we are talking about the amplification, so this is the figure of the polymerase chain reaction. You can see this polymerase chain reaction. Here I have written A, B and C. So here there are three steps of polymerase chain reaction. The first is the denaturation, second is the annealing, and the third is the extension, right? So here when we are talking about the first, so this is said to be the parent DNA which is present, that is double stranded DNA. Here I have dsDNA I have written. So here it is dsDNA, that means it shows that it is double stranded DNA. Now in this pink color shade, it is the gene of interest. That means the region which we need to amplify, right? So first we are going to denature this DNA. For this reason you are giving the heat, right? See, upon we are giving the heat, right? And this heat, when the heat is given, see DNA is it is also a type of protein only, right? So what happens, this particular two strands get denatured, that means they separate from each other, so they are unwinded upon giving the heat, right? So when we are giving the heat, the two of the strands separates from each other, and at this portion what happens, two primers are being added. See, you can see here the first primer is this and the second primer is this. I am showing the cursor over here to make you understand that at which place the primers are being attached. So these are the two places where the primers are attached, and this primers, once they attach to it, what is carried out, the DNA polymerase comes and bind to this region, right? Here the DNA polymerase which is being added, it is been um, it has been isolated from a particular species, and for this reason this particular polymerase, the name of this polymerase is Taq polymerase, right? So here, yes, here what happens, yes, the particular DNA polymerase, that is the Taq polymerase, right? The Thermus aquaticus, the name of the organism of the particular species, that is the Thermus aquaticus. From this polymerase is isolated, and for this reason the name of it is Taq polymerase. So once the primers are binded to it, this process is known as the annealing process, right? Now the third extension, that means the adding of the further nucleotides. Now you can see is the gene of interest was like this, the primers were added like this, and now the extension took place upon the addition of the Taq polymerase and the deoxynucleotides, that is the Taq polymerase responsible for adding the complementary base pairs of this particular parent DNA, right? So at last you are having this now. So the gene of interest is been doubled. So now this 30 cycles are run, and when you are running 30 cycles you are getting more than approximately 1 billion it times it is amplified, right? So the amplification which is taking place over here when you are running 30 cycles, so you just think from one, if 2 is formed, then if we run 30 cycles, and how many times the particular gene of interest is amplified, right? So it is not necessary that you have to run for 30 cycles only. It is based upon the type of the reaction which is going to take place, and what amount of product you want from this particular gene of interest. It is based upon that how much you want to amplify the particular gene of interest. So this is about the polymerase chain reaction. Now, see here it is written each cycle has 3 steps: the denaturation, primer annealing, and the extension of primers. This repeated amplification is done by the use of thermostable DNA polymerase that is isolated from a bacteria's Thermus aquaticus, which remain active during high temperature induced denaturation of double-stranded DNA. So upon the denaturation, the 2 strands open. After that, the primers annealing takes place. That is the binding of the 2 primers on the 2 different strands, and then the DNA polymerase, that is the tech polymerase, it binds to that region and it extends the whole strand. So this is about the next another step of the recombinant DNA technology. Next is now insertion of this recombinant DNA into the host cell, right? So it includes what making the recipient cells competent to receive, take up DNA present in it surrounding, etc., right? So first what you need to do is you need to make the recipient cell, that means the one which is going to receive this DNA, rDNA, right? You need to make those cell competent means it should be available to accept that recombinant DNA, right? So the recombinant DNA bearing gene for resistance to an antibiotic is transferred into E. coli cells. The host cell become transformed into ampicillin resistant cells. So for doing this, for the insertion of the recombinant DNA into the host cell, what they are doing is this recombinant DNA which is having the gene of resistance, that is they do contain the resistant genes, and it is having the antibiotic resistant genes. So firstly, this recombinant DNA is being transferred to the E. coli cells, and once they are transferred to the E. coli cells, the host cell becomes transformed. So here what happens, the host cell, it becomes transformed, and due to this the ampicillin resistant cells are formed. So as first it was being first it was been exposed, it was been given the exposure of the antibiotic resistant gene, right? For this reason the E. coli cells are when cultured with this recombinant DNA, what happens, the E. coli cells are transformed into the ampicillin resistant cells. So now this all the cells will be having the ampicillin resistant gene inside it. So this is all about the insertion of the recombinant DNA into the host. Next is the obtaining the foreign gene pro, product, right? So we cut the DNA, right? We inserted into the competent host, we did the polymerase chain reaction, right? Then now we have already inserted into the host cell. Now what we are expecting is the gene product. So whatever gene of interest you have incorporated inside it, you are expecting now what the particular product of that gene. So the foreign DNA multiplies in the plant or animal cell to produce desirable protein. So in the body of the host, what happens, the multiplication takes place. So the replication, the DNA of that particular gene of interest occurs, and for this reason whatever the number of DNA multiplies, the number of times the DNA multiplies, that much protein is going to be formed. So the gene of interest is continuously going to produce the protein, right? And that one will be the desirable protein. The expression of foreign genes in host cell involve optimized condition to obtain recombinant protein. Now, for the expression of the foreign genes into the host cell, it requires optimized condition, and upon getting the optimized conditions only, it can produce a recombinant protein, as it was a recombinant DNA. For this reason, whatever protein is formed from that DNA, that will be the recombinant protein. So the recombinant cell is multiplied in a continuous culture system in which is used medium is drained out from one side while fresh medium is added from the other to maintain the cells in their physiological active phase. Now you can see here, these are the how to obtain. So they are using the bioreactors, right? So there can be a batch continuous production or a batch production, right? So what happens here, they are using a bioreactor and they are using such continuous culture system that from one part or from one medium is drained out of the particular medium, and firstly and from another part the another fresh medium is being added, right? So what happens, the cells are present inside the medium, and once you are adding the medium in that, so the cells which are present or the host cells which are having the gene of interest, they are going to utilize the sources from that medium, so they are going to take up the nutrition and they are going to double themselves, right? So it is not possible that from that much only medium all the nutritions, there are so many cells, so based upon that number of cells you need to add the medium. So they are going to continuously take up the nutrition, and side by side, as the nutrition level in the particular medium does not get over, for this reason what they are doing is, from one portion once they are adding the medium and as they are utilized by the cells, what happens, from one side it is drained out and another fresh medium is added from the next part or from the next side, right? So continuously the cells are getting the fresh mediums, and for this reason the cells are maintaining themselves in the physiological active phase. For this reason more and more number of the recombinant protein is formed. A bioreactor provides the optimal condition for achieving the desired product by providing optimum growth conditions, right? So this optimize, I say that this to carry out this particular process, what you need is you need the optimized conditions, right? So the optimized conditions are been given in the bioreactors, right? They give the optimum growth condition, that means those type of conditions where the cells can easily grow. So the temperature are also the temperature is balanced, even the pH is balanced, as well as the substrate, that is the whatever nutrients you are giving, then salts, vitamins and oxygen. So all these things are in proper amount which are being given to the cells for their growth. So the bioreactors are being used for carrying out this procedure, that is the obtaining the foreign gene product, right? So here you can see this two type of different types of reactors. This is the simple stirred tank bioreactor, and this one is the sparged stirred tank bioreactor. Here you can see these are the blades which are present in the between, and here it is showing the, here the motor is there, and it is going to show the pressure over here. This is going to rotate the medium, so along when the medium rotates, the cells are easily exposed to the particular medium, and it intakes the nutrition and they divide, right? So here next type is the sparged tank stored tank reactor. See, you can see here also, so you can see this one here, the sterile air is also been added to the medium. For this reason what happens, the continuous air circulation is also been given, right? This is going to do the acid base balancing for the pH, as well as this particular pipe is for the steam for sterilization, that is it is not going to it is going to make the particular reactor sterilized, that no other type of the strain or bacteria should grow, right? So it does not allow the other bacteria to grow in the medium. And this is the second type, where you can see these are the blade, like this is going to rotate, right? This the where I'm showing the cursor, this portion, it continuously rotates and it forms bubble like structures, and through it through the formation of this type of area, surface area, the the increased amount of oxygen occurs, right? So the amount of oxygen increases at this type of surface level, and for this reason the particular oxygen in the medium is proper, right? So through these two types of reactors, what we can get is we are obtaining the foreign gene product, right? And the last step of this chapter, right, is the downstream processing, which involves the processes that make the product obtained ready for marketing. So after the obtaining the foreign gene product, what you need to do is you need to process that particular product, and for that you are preparing that product for keeping that in the market, right? So for that reason you need to do what, the downstream processing. So what this process includes separation and purification, which is called downstream processing. So in the downstream processing, what is occurring, first the separation of the product is carried out, and after the separation the purification of that particular product is carried out. Several suitable preservatives are also added to it for long for therefore so that it can be preserved for a longer time, right? So if you want to preserve that particular but protein or any other product, then what you need to do is you need to add several preservatives which are suitable to that medium, right? And then they are sent it for the clinical trial in case of drugs. So if you are going for the production of the drugs, then what you need to do is first you need to check it whether the particular drug is proper or not, and for this reason they are sent for the clinical trial, right? So before releasing to the market or the public use, they are being first tested, and after then and then only they are being sent to the market for the use for the public. So these are the 6 different steps of the rDNA technology, and I hope you are very clear with this chapter. And here we complete this chapter, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.